Welcome back for another deep dive. This time, it's the connection between mindfulness and the Bible.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one.
Getting ready for this has been so interesting. We've got excerpts from articles on biblical references,
Okay.
managing anger, mindful eating,
Mm-hmm.
even techniques for tackling overthinking, all with that connection to Scripture. It's
Right.
kind of amazing how much wisdom we can find in these ancient texts,
Yeah.
even on topics that might seem, totally modern.
I think what's really interesting is that the Bible doesn't use the word mindfulness
Right.
explicitly, like as we understand it today.
Yeah.
But the ideas are definitely there.
Yeah.
So we're going to uncover those hidden gems,
Yeah, let's do it.
see how they apply to your life.
It's like mindfulness is woven into the fabric of the Bible, even if it wasn't called that, way back when.
Right.
So the article on biblical references kind of lays the groundwork for us.
Okay.
And it points out that the Bible addresses these core themes of managing anger, overeating, and controlling thoughts, even though the word mindfulness doesn't actually appear.
Exactly.
So,
And one of the most powerful examples is Philippians 4.67,
okay.
which talks about dealing with anxiety through prayer and gratitude.
Right.
Now, think about that in the context of mindfulness.
Hmm.
It's about shifting your focus to something positive
Oh.
and grounding yourself in the present moment.
Okay.
It's a technique that's as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago.
I've tried that when I'm feeling stressed, and it really does work.
Yeah.
It's powerful to just stop and be thankful for what you have, Sometimes we forget that.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it's more than just a quick fix, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's not just about feeling better in the moment.
Right.
It's about training your mind to respond differently to challenges
Okay.
over time.
Okay.
It's like building a muscle. The more you practice shifting your focus to gratitude, the easier it becomes.
Okay, so let's get specific. We all know anger is a tough one to deal with. The Bible offers some surprisingly direct advice on this,
It does.
almost like a step-by-step guide to mindful anger management.
Absolutely. And this is where those biblical references get really interesting.
Okay.
Take Ephesians 4.26-27, for example.
Okay.
It warns against letting anger fester and giving the devil a foothold.
Right.
Now, leaving aside the theological interpretation,
Yeah.
what this is essentially saying is, don't let your anger control you. Deal with it constructively and quickly.
Okay.
That's the essence of mindfulness right there.
Right.
Being aware of your emotions and consciously choosing how you respond instead of just reacting.
So it's not about suppressing anger altogether.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing it and making a mindful choice about how to deal with it.
Exactly. And this idea is echoed throughout the Bible. Proverbs 15.1 gives us practical advice.
Okay.
A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. It's all about de-escalation thinking before you speak and choosing your words carefully.
I like how James 1.1920 emphasizes the importance of listening. It says, be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger.
Yes.
It's like creating space between the trigger and your reaction,
Right.
which is a core principle of mindfulness.
It is. And that space between stimulus and response
Yeah.
is where our free will lies.
Right.
That's where we can choose a different path.
Okay.
Speaking of choosing a different path, the Managing Anger article we have talks about some practical techniques.
Okay.
And one that stands out is mindful breathing.
Oh, mindful breathing. I've heard of it, but to be honest, I always thought it sounded a little too simple.
I know, it sounds deceptively simple,
Yeah.
right? But think about it. When you're angry, your body goes into fight or flight mode. Your heart rate goes up. Your breathing becomes shallow.
Right.
By consciously slowing down your breath, you're interrupting that stress response. You're essentially hitting the pause button on your anger, giving yourself a chance to respond more thoughtfully.
So it's not just about calming down.
Right.
It's about creating that space to choose a different response.
Exactly.
It's almost like a bridge between the ancient wisdom of the Bible
Yeah,
and the practical techniques of modern mindfulness.
exactly. And the beauty of it is that anyone can do it.
Right.
You don't need any special training or equipment.
Right.
Just a few conscious breaths can make a world of difference in a heated moment.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is amazing how that shift in perspective can make a difference.
Yeah,
And that's a lot of what mindfulness is about.
Right.
Changing how we view things.
that's so true. Sometimes we get so caught up in our own heads that we
Yeah.
forget to take a step back,
Yeah.
see the bigger picture.
Right.
Speaking of getting caught up,
Oh, yeah?
let's talk about overeating.
Okay.
I think this is something most people can relate to
Oh, absolutely.
at some point.
The struggle is real.
Yeah.
And the Bible actually addresses this too.
Does it?
Proverbs 23.2021 warns against overindulgence and gluttony. It's a reminder that moderation is key,
Yeah.
not just for our physical health, but also for our spiritual well-being.
I know I've always found it interesting how the Bible connects those two things.
Right.
The physical and the spiritual.
Yeah.
It's not just about what we eat,
Right.
but why we eat it and how it affects us.
Our whole self.
Our whole selves, yeah.
And Philippians 3.19 takes it even further,
Okay.
talking about the dangers of prioritizing physical desires over spiritual growth. It's almost like a call to mindfulness in the way we approach food and our relationship with it.
So instead of just mindlessly snacking or eating out of boredom,
Right.
we should be more aware of what's driving those cravings.
Right, and that's where the Managing Overeating article comes in.
Okay.
For practical tips.
Okay.
So many of them are about slowing down, paying attention,
Yeah.
and really being present with your food,
Right.
which is the heart of mindful eating.
So it's not just about what's on your plate,
Right.
but how you eat it.
Uh-huh.
I've tried some of these techniques, like using smaller plates
Yeah.
and eating without distractions.
Right.
It's amazing how much of a difference those small changes can make.
Yeah, it is.
What about keeping a food journal?
Mm.
That's something I've always been curious about,
Yeah.
but honestly a little intimidated by.
I get that it can feel like an extra task,
Yeah.
but a food journal can be incredibly insightful.
Okay.
It helps you become more aware of your patterns, your triggers, and those moments when you might be eating for reasons other than hunger.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sensing a theme here.
What's that?
Whether it's anger, overeating, or even what we're going to talk about next, overthinking.
Right.
It seems like mindfulness is all about recognizing those patterns
Right.
and making conscious choices
Yeah.
instead of just running on autopilot.
They're spot on. And speaking of autopilot, overthinking is like the ultimate autopilot mode for our minds.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's that mental hamster wheel that can be so hard to get off of.
Tell me about it. My mind is like a browser with 20 tabs open all the time.
Oh, I know that feeling.
But the Bible actually offers some great advice for those mental storms, doesn't it?
It does. Remember Philippians 4.67?
Yeah.
It encourages us to turn our worries over to a higher power. Find peace through prayer and gratitude.
Right.
In a mindfulness context, this could be seen as a form of surrender.
Oh.
Accepting what we can't control and focusing on what we can.
So instead of trying to force our thoughts to stop, which never seems to work,
Exactly.
we can shift our focus to something bigger than ourselves.
And that's a key principle of mindfulness.
Okay.
Recognizing that we are not our thoughts. We can observe them without getting swept away by them.
Okay, that makes sense. But it's easier said than done, right?
It is.
I mean, how do you actually observe your thoughts without getting totally sucked in?
Well, it takes practice, but one of the most powerful tools we have is the breath. Remember how we talked about mindful breathing for anger management? It works for overthinking, too.
So if I'm feeling overwhelmed by thoughts, I can just stop and focus on my breath for a few minutes.
Exactly. It's about bringing your attention to the present moment, to the physical sensations of your breath. And when your mind inevitably wanders back to those thoughts, just gently guide it back to your breath without judgment.
It's like training a puppy, isn't it?
Oh, that's a great analogy.
You have to keep bringing it back to the task at hand.
Yeah, you do.
The Managing Overthinking article also talks about other techniques like journaling and creative activities.
Right.
I've definitely found that journaling can help me sort through my thoughts, get them out of my head.
Journaling can be incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
It allows you to process your thoughts and emotions in a safe and contained way. And creative activities can be a great way to shift your focus away from those repetitive thought patterns.
Right. I love to paint when I'm feeling stressed.
Oh, wow.
It's like my mind can finally relax.
Yeah.
Just be in the moment.
That's wonderful. And it highlights an important point.
What's that?
Mindfulness isn't just about sitting quietly and meditating.
Right.
It can be woven into any activity, whether it's painting, walking, gardening, or even washing dishes.
So it's about bringing that awareness and intention to whatever we're doing.
Exactly.
Big or small.
Big or small.
I'm starting to see how mindfulness can really be a way of life.
It absolutely can be. And it's not about being perfect
Right.
or never feeling angry
Yeah.
or never overeating or never overthinking.
Right.
It's about noticing when those things happen, having the tools to manage them in a healthy way.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about the biblical roots of mindfulness and how it can help us with challenges like anger,
Uh-huh.
overeating,
Yeah.
and overthinking.
Right.
What's the big takeaway here?
Oh, that's a good question.
What do you want our listener to walk away with?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the Bible, while not using the term mindfulness, offers a wealth of wisdom that aligns perfectly with what we understand as mindfulness today.
Yeah.
And by connecting with these ancient teachings,
Right.
we can approach modern challenges with a fresh perspective.
It's like we've been given this incredible toolkit
Yeah.
passed down through generations
It is.
for navigating the ups and downs of life.
Absolutely.
And it's available to all of us,
Right.
regardless of our beliefs or background.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that human nature hasn't changed all that much over the centuries.
Right.
The challenges we face today,
Yeah.
anger, overeating, overthinking, the desire for connection, purpose, and meaning,
Yeah.
they're all echoes of what people have grappled with for millennia.
That's a really comforting thought, actually.
Yeah,
It makes me feel less alone in my struggles.
you're not alone at all. And that's part of what mindfulness can help us realize,
Okay.
that we're all interconnected. Our experiences, our struggles, our joys, they're all part of the shared human experience.
You know, as we've been talking, I've been thinking about how mindfulness can be a tool for social change, too.
Oh, that's a fascinating idea.
Yeah.
How so?
Well, so much of the conflict and division in the world stems from a lack of understanding and empathy.
Right.
But when we practice mindfulness, we cultivate those very qualities. We become more aware of our own biases, more compassionate toward others,
Yeah,
and more skilled at communicating effectively.
I see what you mean. It's like mindfulness helps us to step outside of our own limited perspectives
Yeah.
and see things from a wider lens.
Exactly. Instead of reacting defensively or getting caught up in our own opinions,
Right.
we can listen with an open mind
Yeah.
and try to truly understand where the other person is coming from.
That's so powerful.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that we all have our own stories, our own experiences that shape our worldview.
Right.
And by approaching those differences with curiosity and compassion, we can build bridges instead of walls.
And it all starts with being mindful of our own thoughts, feelings, and reactions.
It does.
From there, we can start to shift the way we interact with the world around us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a ripple effect.
Okay.
By cultivating mindfulness within ourselves, we create positive change in our relationships, our communities,
Right.
and even the world at large.
Wow, that's pretty inspiring.
Yeah.
So to our listener out there, what would you say is the most important thing to remember about mindfulness?
I'd say it's this. Mindfulness is a practice, not a destination.
Okay.
It's not about achieving some perfect state of enlightenment.
Right.
It's about showing up every day with intention and awareness
Yeah.
and choosing to live in a way that aligns with your values.
It's about taking those small steps, those
Yeah.
mindful moments throughout the day
Exactly.
that can ultimately lead to big changes.
Exactly. And remember, it's a journey, not a race.
Mm-hmm.
Be kind to yourself, be patient,
Right.
and enjoy the process.
Well, thank you so much for taking us on this deep dive.
Of course.
I feel like I've learned so much, and I hope our listener has too.
It's been my pleasure, and remember, this is just the beginning.
Yeah,
There's a whole world of mindfulness waiting to be explored.
that's true.
So keep learning,
Hmm.
keep practicing,
Okay.
and keep discovering the incredible power of the present moment.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us, and until next time,
Thank you.
keep diving deep.